So much for giving us some of your time today. I want to start with Travis Decker. We are talking about a man who is a former military member, a man who is suspected of killing his own children, his 3 young daughters. How potentially dangerous is he right now? And do you think he is still alive?
Hi, Nichole. Good to be with you, first of all. Yeah, this case, specifically the one in Washington State that you just mentioned, Decker, reminds me most of the hunt for Eric Rudolph in the 1990s, who was the Olympic bomber and some other bombings. He wound up retreating to the western part of North Carolina, very mountainous, very rural, very much of a forested area. I made 3 separate trips there, along with the FBI's hostage rescue team, various SWAT teams. It's a tough environment in which to work. I heard what the sheriff said right before me from Washington State. Sounds like he's doing all the right things in terms of technology, dogs, drones, and heat-seeking sort of technology. So I have no doubt it's around the clock. They're working on this. They're going to be talking to people that he knew, meaning the fugitive in this case, and where he could possibly wind up. I remember saying in the early days about Eric Rudolph that as good as he may be in the woods, he's not Tarzan. There's only so far folks living in the woods, if they're not being supplied by other people or helped, that they can get by. Some people are better than others, and time will tell. I would also say, too, it's a very good chance that Decker has committed suicide or is planning a suicide by cop. I'm not suggesting this to him if, in fact, he somehow hears or reads anything of what I'm saying, but the police have to be aware of that when they do the final confrontation with this guy, if he is still alive.
And I do want to say, we saw some video there. That is doorbell, it's Ring camera video of Decker that is prior to, in the days prior to the girls, him coming to pick up his daughters. And then, of course, being accused of killing them because all 3 girls were found dead. But this was this happened in the days before that alleged crime as the search continues for him. All right, I want to move on to Grant Hardin. He is the man who escaped in Arkansas, known as the Devil in the Ozarks. The Department of Corrections has released a rendering of what he may look like if he has, in fact, changed his appearance. We're talking about a former police chief here, James. So this is a man who presumably has extensive training in everything from, tactical maneuvers to how to conduct a manhunt, which is what is happening right now with him. What is it going to take to bring this man back into custody?
Well, if as a former law enforcement officer and chief of police, he may know about manhunts, and he'll know the most successful way to possibly succeed at maintaining on the loose, on the lam, and escaping would be to have help and assistance. And that's why it's very important in this particular escape for the investigators to look at, when we're talking about killers, we look at pre-offense and post-offense behavior. In this guy's case, pre-escape behavior, post-escape behavior. We're not going to know too much more of the post-escape behavior yet. I mean, the authorities probably do, just not releasing that. But the pre-offense, who was he talking to in prison? What other inmates or staff members did he confide in? Who was on his guest list? Believe it or not, in prison nowadays, you can go online, you can have cell phones. Sometimes they sneak it, sometimes it's authorized. Who was he contacting then? What kind of searches was he undertaking? That will tell us a lot. This guy's a little bit older. He's in his mid to late 50s. I'm not sure what his expertise is in surviving in the woods, especially, this time of year. He needs food and water, et cetera, and climbing up and down hill and dale. So he probably has help if he's made it this far. And that person, of course, or persons are going to be arrested and charged too.
Absolutely. All right. Well, speaking of help and other people being arrested, let's shift now to New Orleans. 2 of those escaped inmates are still on the loose. We talked about it in your intro here. One of them appears to have released that video on social media. It was thought, James, by many experts. I talked to experts here who thought that all of the inmates would be caught quickly, that these last 2 would be rounded up. But they are still eluding authorities, going on 3 weeks here. How does that search evolve at this point?
Well, there's strength in numbers, so to speak. So whatever task force was assembled, whatever investigative agencies, and there's a number of them, no doubt, including federal, state, and local, they had to divide their personnel power to search for each one of these escapees. And quite frankly, after a week, if they're down to only 2 still remaining, that's not too bad, and no other violent crimes having taken place, of which we are aware, of course. So that's a good.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.